Hello there. This is Heirs to the Kingdom channel. We're doing Isaiah chapter 40 tonight. The title of this one is Concerning the Return to Jerusalem. All the Israelites are frightened because they're going to be taken into captivity, but God already has a promise for them afterwards. I think they're in captivity for 70 years, if I remember correctly. But, like I said, some of these lessons, they kind of start blending in on me, and I kind of mix some things up from time to time. But if I remember correctly, they are in captivity for 70 years in Babylon. If you are new to this and just clicked on this, this is a Bible study channel, as you can tell from the main picture here. I do the King James Bible. I'm going from beginning to end. I'm not skipping anything. And I share what I learn, I share what I have learned, and share what I am learning. And so, hope you're enjoying the journey with me as I share the gospel the best way I know how. So, it's a little bit of a long chapter, but it is a straightforward chapter. There's not really much to talk about here. I mean, at the end, there's some stuff to talk about, a little bit in the middle. But we're going to get started right on in here. Get this lesson read. So, if we remember from the last, the promise was sent by God for the vanity. It wasn't just a vanity. It was his vanity, King Hezekiah's vanity, in showing off everything that he had to the messengers from Babylon. They pretty much did a record of what they saw. They're going to take to the king, says, and the king of Babylon's going to be like, hey, I want that. Let's go take it. And that's what's going to happen. So, but also Hezekiah was given 15 more years to live. And we have to remember, just because you're guaranteed to be alive doesn't mean that your life is going to be pleasurable. His sons are going to be made into eunuchs when this happens. And he seemed to be fine with that. Because it's going to be at the end of during his time there's going to be peace. And after that, it's kind of like he sounded like God's word is fine with me. Again, it would bother the mess out of me, but I'd be asking, what provisions can we do to stop this, or anything else? What can be done? Is there anything I can do to repent? Can I give up my 15 years so that my sons won't be made into eunuchs and Jerusalem stays free and safe? There would have been some questions I would have asked, but, that's not what we're given here in this lesson, in the Bible reading about King Hezekiah. So, now, as I said, this is a comfort from the Lord speaking to all the Israelites. So let's go ahead and get started here. Chapter 40, verse 1. Comfort ye, my people, saith your God. Speak ye comfortably to Jerusalem, and cry unto her that her warfare is accomplished, that her iniquity is pardoned, for she hath received of the Lord's hand double for all her sins. Now, the one thing King Hezekiah was told, that even though you're a godly king, a punishment's still coming. And so that's probably what he was good with. It's like, okay, I know the punishment's coming, because it wasn't just the king of Israel before was a sinner. The people followed the sin. So they enjoyed doing works against the Lord. And so, as I said, the punishment was coming already. And that's more than likely why he was comforted, was knowing, like, okay, well, at least during my time there's going to be peace. And then after this, the punishment. So, means they have time to prepare. Let's continue on verse 3. The voice of him that crieth in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill shall be made low, and the crooked shall be made straight, and the rough places plain. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together, for the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it. Now, of course, that area could be speaking of the returning of the Messiah. And because, God's word is given that, hey, these things are going to come to pass, but he doesn't really put a time frame on things. And since our whole lives are based on time, it's everything about our lives are based on time. Our crops are grown in time. If we have livestock, if we want to eat of them, we have to do it in a certain time before they die and decompose. If we slaughter them and have their meat, we have to prepare it within a certain time or it goes bad. Our lives itself, physically, we start going bad in time. So our whole lives are based off time, but God isn't. And that's a hard thing for us to understand at times as people. It's like, well, when are you going to come here? When are these things going to happen? It's like, I said it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And this is why we're supposed to just have faith in the Lord, saying, well, it's going to happen. Maybe not in my lifetime, but it's going to happen. So let's continue on verse 6. The voice said, cry. And he said, what shall I cry? All flesh is grass, and all the goodliness thereof is as the flower of the field. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, because the Spirit of the Lord bloweth upon it. Surely the people is grass. The grass withereth, the flower fadeth, but the word of our God shall stand forever. So it's once a thing talking about we come and go like grass. We are born, we raise up, we stand tall, we wither, we die, and then the next generation, and the next generation. So that's what he's talking about. He's not bound by time, but we are. So these things will come to pass in due time. Continue on verse 9. O Zion, that bringest good tidings, get thee up into the high mountain. O Jerusalem, that bringeth good tidings, lift up thy voice with strength. Lift it up, be not afraid. Say unto the cities of Judah, behold your God. Behold, the Lord God will come with strong hand, and his arm shall rule for him. Behold, his reward is with him, and his work before him. He shall feed his flock like a shepherd. He shall gather the lambs with his arm, and carry them in his bosom, and shall gently lead those that are with young. Who hath measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, and meted out heaven with the span, and comprehended the dust of the earth in a measure, and weighed the mountains in scales, and the hills in a balance. Now, of course, we're talking about here, it's like, who is better than the Lord? Look what all the Lord can do, has done, and will do. And like, who are you to question the Lord? Who are you trying to teach the Lord anything? God's all-knowing. He created all this stuff, so he knows how it works. We don't really need to tell him anything. He knows. If our lives are in shambles, it ain't because of him. It's because of either us or our society. And that's just the way it is. We already went through that where they talked about everything's in a chance. Some people have the chance born in greatness. Some people born in poverty. Some people are born under that lucky star, and some people are dumped on by that lucky star. It's just chance. It's just, you just have to deal with what life you were given. But that's just the way it goes. We don't like it, but that is just the way it goes. Men learn this early in life. Women have a hard time with this a lot, especially the feminist ones, because they think that, well, if I keep doing this, I'm going to get what I want one day. Next thing you know, they're 60-something years old and no children, and no man wants them. They done their bread box done dried up and withered away, and they're like, where'd all the good guys go? Why are men pigs? Like, you had your chance, but you squandered it, As I said, it's either society or yourself or, whatever. But you can always find a good life in whatever you have as long as you have a good society or good friends. If you have a good family, that makes life very worthwhile. All men desire that. Good men anyways, but let's continue on here. I can be on that area for hours all by itself. Verse 13. Who hath directed the Spirit of the Lord, or being his counselor hath taught him? With whom took he counsel? And who instructed him, and taught him in the path of judgment, and taught him knowledge, and showed to him the way of understanding? Behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket, and are counted as the small dust of the balance. Behold, he taketh up the isles as a very little thing. And Lebanon is not sufficient to burn, nor the beast thereof sufficient for a burnt offering. So, 16, verse 16 here is talking about this area and all the beasts thereof. They're not sufficient to cover the sins and the wrong that you all have done. So, this is one thing God always wants us to know, that, if we sin, it's because of ourselves. And that's why here under grace today is so much better than being under the law. Because under the law, you had to have, depending upon the sin, you had to have a certain type of burnt offering to, be for that sin. We're not bound by that no more. Jesus was the final sacrifice, the final, the innocent lamb crucified for all mankind's sin. His death was sufficient for all. And he was tortured badly. He had to bleed out completely. He pretty much, they already said the amount of blood he lost and everything, he would have had none left to even make it to the top of Calvary. So he was already done. But it was the power of God kept his body going even without sufficient, nutrients in his body for it to function. So his whole crucifixion and everything else and how it played out was a miracle all on its own, because everything he went through beforehand, most people died during there, but he had to die not on earth and not in heaven. He was supposed to be in between, and that's why he was on the cross. It speaks of that. That's how the prophecy was, that this is how it had to be for this to work. So that's why we praise Jesus for what he did for us, because he didn't have to, but he did for us anyways, because he loves us more than we love him. And that's a sad truth. But let's continue on, verse 17. All nations before him are as nothing, and they are counted to him less than nothing and vanity. To whom then will ye liken God? Or what likeness will ye compare unto him? The workman melteth a graven image, and the goldsmith spreadeth it over with gold, and casteth silver chains. He that is so impoverished that he hath no oblation chooseth a tree that will not rot. He seeketh unto him a cunning workman to prepare a graven image that shall not be moved. Have ye not known? Have ye not heard? Hath it not been told you from the beginning, that have ye not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in, that bringeth the princes to nothing. He maketh the judges of the earth as vanity. Yea, they shall not be planted. Yea, they shall not be sown. Yea, their stock shall not take root in the earth. And he shall also blow upon them, and they shall wither. and the whirlwind shall take them away as stubble. To whom then will ye liken me? Or shall I be equal, saith the Holy One? Lift up your eyes on high, and behold, who hath created these things, that bringeth out their host by number. He calleth them all by names, by the greatness of his might, for that he is strong. In power not one faileth. Why sayest thou, O Jacob, and speakest, O Israel? My way is hid from the Lord, and my judgment is passed over from my God. Hast thou not known, hast thou not heard, that the everlasting God, the Lord, the Creator of the ends of the earth, fainteth not, neither is weary? There is no searching of his understanding. He giveth power to the faint, and to them that hath no might he increaseth strength. Even the youths shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. As you can tell from this image here, it's the end of this lesson. Oh, I actually probably could have added the other to it. And I said the daily lessons, I want them, definitely less than 30 minutes. So we're just over 15 now. Almost 17 actually, but either or. But yeah, there's a lot of in this lesson that these things apply to us today, minus anything that was speaking of the law, which was the burnt offerings. But you'll always be stronger if you wait upon the Lord instead of acting on your own. Because when something arises and you have time before you make a decision, if you wait on the Lord, you'll make a better decision. If you act impulsively, like some of us do when we're shopping, goes, oh, that would be nice, and we buy something like, why did I buy that? I'm not going to use it. That was a lot of money for nothing. But we have it, and it's like, now you think of, well, what can I do with it? How can I get rid of it now? It's like, I don't really want it. But we do things like that as humans. We make stupid decisions. We do stupid things at times. I do it lots of times. I have stuff in my little save for later area on Amazon and other websites. And I go to it, oh man, okay, I think I got enough money for that right now, blah, 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 that and the other. Next thing I said, let me see, let me think about that. Let me come back to that later. And boom, I close out the website or this, that, and the other. And come to find out, it's like, I don't really need it anyways. It's, especially right now, I got this going on, got that going on, whatever. It's the same things about doing some impulse thing about taking a job somewhere and quitting a job that you have. I had a friend of mine do that. He had a chance to make $2 more an hour. I'm going to go ahead and say the places he was working. He was offered a full-time position at Walmart, which is what he wanted. He's a very simple man, simple-minded at that as well. But he had a guaranteed job at Walmart, just cleaning floors, doing the things that he knows how to do. He would have had the discount. He would have had the benefits, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. Then a temp agency called him up, says there's a job at DuPont doing almost the same stuff. It was a temp job. It made, I think it was $1 or $2 more an hour. And it wasn't full-time at first, but he had a chance to be hired permanently. So he quit the guaranteed job, went for a possibility. The dude's homeless now. He won't listen to nobody, and we keep trying to help him, and he won't listen to nobody. He was living in his car. He lost the apartment he had. Then he had to live in his car. His car got repoed. He went out to use the bathroom, and boom, the repos was watching him, picked it up, hauled it off. And because he went from a possible job to no job. And then when you ain't got a residence, it's kind of hard to keep a job or get a job. And, then he, like now, as far as I know, he's like at a boys' home, and he doesn't like how they do things there, and he's wanting to do his own thing. I'm like, dude, you got no money to do anything. It's like, you acted impulsively. You didn't ask no one that would have gave you. I asked him, I was like, why didn't you talk to us about it first? He goes, well, I knew what y'all would say. Y'all tell me to stay at Walmart. I'm like, yeah, you had benefits. And like, you got medical bills you can't pay now. It's like, he's in his mid-50s. I said, he's always been a kind of like a simple-minded person, but he's still a decent guy, but he makes bad decisions. His mom used to make all his decisions for him. Then she passed away. And you try to help somebody like that, and they don't want to listen. What can you do, really? But it's that same situation. It's like, if you don't wait on the Lord, you may end up in that exact same thing. You may have something here that's, hey, there might be something better here, but is it worth the chance? When you don't have a big nest egg or other options, do you want to take that chance for a possibility when you have a definite here? It's like the old saying, it's better to have one bird in the hand than two in the bush. But when you got like successful people with money, and they take a chance and something fails, but they still got a home and they got money for this, that, and the other, and they're not really suffering, hey, they can afford to take chances. Poor people can't, because we could lose everything, and it ain't worth it. And that's why these politicians and these governments know about everything. Is like, hey, if they're upper middle class, they can take chances and be better than us, and not and be able to rule over us, because we want to rule over them. And it's what they do. They're not nice people, and they that's why they want to keep destroying economies and not let people become successful, because they keep us like, hey, do you want to lose what little you have? And when you're poor, it's like, no. But they're also now learning, says, if they got nothing left to lose, that's the dangerous ones. And they're like, oh yeah, we went too far with this stuff, didn't we? Yeah, you went too far with this stuff. They got this psychofeminism, promoting that all over the place. They got everything else. They've destroyed the home life. People can't get homes. They can't rent apartments. You got 6 people to a studio. This, that, and the other. They're sharing prices on rent and everything else, and they're all just getting sleeping mats and sleeping bags. Men are staying single because of divorce court and child support stuff and all these things that a woman can do to destroy him. If he gets married to him and starts a family, then he says, oh, I'm not happy, and boom, his whole life's destroyed, and they take his kids from him, take his money from him, this, that, and the other. It's like, they went too far with this stuff. Now they've crippled the system. And now people, they're at the bottom already. They got nothing left to lose. So it's like, hey, it's time to fight back, because like, if we don't, we ain't got nothing as it is. So what are they going to do? Take away what we already have? Nothing? Fine, you can take it. Here. There you go. You got what I have. Can't afford cars no more. They get so much junk in the cars. The cars are unaffordable. The homes are made out of trash. They fall apart like nothing. A little bit of drop of water gets in the area, and they're all plastic wrapped. They can't evaporate nowhere. Boom, the house just disintegrates. It's all made out of particle board that can't handle getting wet and stuff like that. They went too far with it, and now we're trying to reel things back in. And we're hoping that they do, but, you got to remember, it was people that elected these evil people in the office because they promised them free stuff. And that's how it always goes. They were promised something, so that I'll vote for that one because that's what I want. I want something free. I don't want to earn it. I don't want to wait on the Lord. I want it now. I want power. I want this. I want possessions. I want vanity, vanity, vanity. All of life is vanity. But yeah, I'm getting off my soapbox with that one. You're not smarter than God. You're not going to be better than God. Satan thought it too. Now he knows he's cursed. He already lost the war, so there's still battles to happen. He wants to take as many of us with him as possible. That's his goal now, thinking of it. Because every time God loses one of us, it does hurt God's feelings. And so when you choose Satan instead of God, it does hurt God's feelings. But guess what? It's you that's going to suffer. God's not going to suffer. Satan's going to suffer. I'm not going to suffer with you. I'm serving the Lord. I'll walk this earth completely alone before I turn my back on God. I may yell at God and get mad at God because my life sucks, this, that, and the other. And then I got to remember about other countries I've been to. I'm like, I got it pretty good. I'm just lonely. I'm just alone. I never got to have any kids. Never got to have a family. But I'm not the one that brought feminism in either. Women, and they welcomed that. They loved it up. They hugged it up, squeezed it up, and reproduced with it. And they just made more of them. And they didn't care about God or care about men or society or anything else. They wanted things their way, and they didn't care what got destroyed in the process. And they're still doing it now. They're doubling down. And men are just like, whatever, we're out. So now they're just, for a lot of them, it's God only, God and video games, or so what little they do have. That's what they're just day by day. But yeah, don't worry. One day this nightmare will be over. And in some countries, their nightmare is worse than what we have it here in America. Definitely a lot worse. We just get a lot of stress and anxiety. But the one thing, we got to pray. And pray for those lost ones. Because, when our lives end here, our nightmare is over. When their lives end here, their nightmare has just begun. They think life's hard here. Hell is a whole lot worse. And we don't want no one to go there. But some people, they're just bound and determined. That's where they want to go, and they don't care about nothing else. So we got to pray that we might be able to reach them. Pray that God can reach them. Soften their heart up a little bit, and give them a little vision of what it would actually be like. That's one thing I like to pray for. Like, let them see a little bit what it's going to be like, where they're going if they don't come to you. But we got to pray. We got to pray for ourselves too, because Satan's called the great deceiver. And he didn't call that for no reason. He's the great deceiver. I got a niece, claims to be a Christian, this, that, and the other, showing all these ads for look at these special hair colors and hairstyles, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that falls under, embroidered hair. And all things are different today. Times are changed today, and God hasn't changed one bit. And he won't change. We change for him. He don't change for us. But yeah. So, until tomorrow or until next time, God bless, good night, and goodbye.